Welcome to the Dr. DC podcast.
Welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself.
Ka-chow!
Lightning McQueen. I will have to say, that's like one of my favorite like bits on TikTok. Is people are like, they said there would be lightning out here. And then it's like, ka-chow.
Yeah.
I do kind of
I also love that, yeah.
Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
That's right.
We are, of course, halfway through May.
This is only the second week of May.
Yeah, but out of 4, right?
Out of 4.
Yeah, halfway through.
Well, at the end of this episode, we'll be halfway through.
Sure.
Listen, I know this is your way of doing things, but let's not get there too early.
Yeah, how
Weird shade to throw. I bet you come early, you fucking cuck. And that's the sort of delicacy with which we're handling a month of queer conversations.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, how far can you go into a forest?
What?
How far can you go into a forest?
Am I going to have to edit this out of the episode?
No. You can only go halfway, and then you're leaving the forest.
Yeah, but we're not at the halfway point is what I'm saying. There's 4 full episodes this month.
Yeah.
We're at the start of the second one, which is by definition not the halfway mark.
I'm sorry. So wait, so at the beginning of the next episode, I can say we're halfway through. Ugh. Wait, it's the third episode. It's the third.
Halfway. By the end of it, we're 3/4 of the way through.
I'm sorry. Let me touch base again when we're halfway through this episode, and I'll say that we are
For everyone listening, you know my number one priority on this show is accuracy.
I mean, that is true. Unlike you in bed.
I mean, no, I'm pretty accurate.
I mean, that's true. The second you try, fucking one-hit wonder over here.
I mean, I feel bad rubbing it in, but
You said that
this went very easily.
Yes, this is the second week, halfway through. And, last week it was all about queer characters within Doom Patrol.
That's right.
Now we're doing queer writers and creators.
Queer creators, like pretty wide open
artists,
topic.
writers.
To talk about.
Yeah, queer creators within DC.
That's right.
Which is a broad topic.
Have you gotten the DC Pride issues? Did you pick those up when they came out?
I didn't end up getting them. I was staunchly against them. Could you
Wow.
imagine?
That's what it is. 6 years, 375 episodes. Now is when you...
Ew, no, I wouldn't get those.
Jesus Christ.
No, I haven't picked them up. They're cool. I've seen them. I think I'm always I'm really bad about getting my polls. I'm better at it when it's like an ongoing thing, and I can just be like, get me all of the Action Comics. But I never really follow up on those enough and to get them. But then I've seen them at stuff. I think I have one maybe issue or something like that.
There's been a good
it's the
concerted
Kal-El.
effort.
I think it's the one that I have the Super Sun.
Well, yeah. So there's the Superman Son of Kal-El.
Yeah, that's the one I've got.
But then there's also last year and 2 years ago they put out these DC Pride anthologies that were short stories from across.
Yeah. I haven't gotten those.
The DC
sound great,
universe.
though.
But the last 2 or 3 years, there's been this really concerted effort to have very dedicated, specific queer presence in books, and not only that, but on these Pride specials and on these books to engage more queer creators. Not that those are the only things they work on or anything like that, but to have some more authentic voices in the room as these stories are being told. So, I mean, there's lots. I certainly, couldn't tell you everyone that I like all the creators at DC that are queer creators, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
there's quite a number, and there's more of these stories coming out. So yeah, just kind of a wide open episode just to talk about some different stories and characters and creators and stuff.
Hell yeah. Well, why don't we get into those? We got a few questions.
Sure.
First, we're going over to Facebook.
Going to the face in the book, going to the Facebook.
First question comes from Mikhail Sylvie.
Yeah.
He's gonna
That wasn't a drop it.
He's gonna Soviet.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I like your inability to breathe is really giving for hilarious comedy timing.
Baby.
Who would you cast as the live action Apollo and Midnighter? My pick is Sam Reed, Lestat, and Jacob Anderson, Louise, from the Interview with a Vampire TV series. I mean, fucking, that's Sam Reed. Holy shit.
Apollo and Midnighter were originally from the Wildstorm universe. They were essentially the Wildstorm analogs of Superman and Batman, but they are in love with each other.
Yeah.
So Apollo has Superman-ish powers, super strength, stuff like that is tied to the power of the sun. Midnighter is kind of like Batman. He's this kind of very like hyper-violent character, but he has a fight computer in his brain, and he can sort of see the outcome of every fight before it starts, essentially.
I love that.
I don't know who these actors are because I'm so disconnected.
That
from,
show is
like,
good. I watched the first 4 episodes of that series, and it was really good.
I'm gonna look this up. Sam Reed.
They're hot as fuck.
Okay. How do you feel about Sam Reed as Apollo? Do you feel like that's?
I think that Sam Reed is a perfect
I don't
casting
hate
for
that.
him. Yeah, he's hot as hell.
I don't hate that at all.
And Jacob Anderson is the other kid.
Do you know who I would throw in there? This is maybe a sort of weird one. What's his name? He was in Top Gun Maverick. That Glenn Powell.
Oh yeah, he would be a perfect actor for that.
I might throw him in there.
Yeah.
He's got just that real kind of clean cut look that I think is good for Apollo. Or, I mean, he's getting maybe a little old for it, which is an insane thing to say because he's still very young.
Mm-hmm.
But Alan Ritchson, the guy that played Hawk on Titans, and he's a Reacher right now on Prime.
Yeah,
I like him as Apollo would be interesting. I think.
Does that work? Like his sort of like approach would work well for that character.
Well, because he can play a little less of like the super. I mean, Apollo is not like happy-go-lucky either. You know what I mean? Like, it's the Wildstorm universe. No one is like skipping through the meadow. It's all a little bit, tougher or whatever, but like he'd be an interesting Apollo. Okay, so now Midnighter. I need to look up this Jacob Anderson.
I'm going to say for my Apollo, I'm going to go slightly younger, maybe somebody like Gabriel Brasso.
Is this the guy that was he on Game of Thrones? Was he the the castrated soldier guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
He's great.
Interesting. I'm again going too old. Just forgive me. I'm just.
You're an old man.
I don't know who the young actors are, but the guy that plays Mother's Milk. On the boys,
sure.
But I'm thinking of the way he looked in Fast and Furious.
Sure.
He plays.
I don't remember him in that.
He plays Phoenix in that. He's the guy that kills Letty.
Oh.
But he had like the mohawk, the thing that you kind of see like Midnighter have in that. He had a mohawk. Like I'm thinking of his look from that movie is what I'm hung up on. Would be like a good, if you could time travel to make this movie, that would be a good one.
Who would else be good right now?
Do you know who would be a good Apollo? Is the guy that played Jack Crusher. And he's also on You, season 4.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that. Season 3, you mean?
No, season 4.
Oh.
The one where it's in Britain.
I thought that was season 3. Yeah.
No, that's 4, baby. He'd be a good Apollo too. My trouble is I think I want Apollo and Midnighter to be younger. I mean, I know we're doing the sort of softish reboot of DC anyway.
Yeah.
So it's we're not getting like Batfleck, like old grizzled Batman or whatever. But I think even compared to the Batman that they have, I'd want Midnighter to be a little younger. I don't know why, but in my head, I feel like they, for all their experiences and stuff like that, I want them to be younger than Superman and Batman. I'd want them to be younger than their analogs in, you know what I mean? I mean, they're going to end up coexisting in this universe because we're getting an Authority movie, right? So,
you know who I would kind of see is as Apollo, Zac Efron.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Yeah, maybe still aging out of that.
Yeah, maybe.
At least with how I'm thinking of it.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, my problem is I just don't know enough young actors.
I'm probably for the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I really love in their 20s. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not that list.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, what's neat though is we are going to get this isn't that much of a hypothetical question anymore. We're going to get a live action Apollo and Midnighter because we're getting that Authority movie coming in however many years. But
so we got to figure that out.
Yeah, exciting.
That's awesome. All right, let's leave Facebook and head on over to Twitter.
Twitter.
First question from Twitter comes from Truth, Justice, and Hope, who asks, has Wonder Woman been written by a queer writer in recent years outside of the Morrison's Earth 1? I know that Diana is canonically bisexual, but I don't know if that's been explored outside of flashbacks. What queer writer would you like to see on her on her books?
So there's actually kind of two different questions there. So the first question is, has Wonder Woman been written by a queer writer?
Yeah.
And I believe the answer is yes. I think Vita Ayala has written Wonder Woman. And Vita Ayala, I believe, is a non-binary creator. And they have written in this kind of most recent era of Wonder Woman, or among the more recent eras of Wonder Woman. I think they wrote on Nubia and the Amazons, Nubia, Queen of the Amazons. They wrote on Wonder Woman a bit. They wrote, with this kind of new crop of Amazons that came out of the Well of Souls and that. Now, I don't know that specifically I don't think we've really been exploring Diana's bisexuality particularly in that series.
Okay.
Or in that era. But there is queerness in those books, that we've certainly been exploring, Nubia's relationship with, I believe it's Io on Themyscira and stuff like that. And, those books do have more of kind of a queer lens to them. But, Vita Ayala, I believe, is probably the most recent queer creator on Wonder Woman.
Okay, so outside of them, who else would you want to see take on Wonder Woman?
I mean, really tough question.
Especially because I don't think there's enough known. I think visibly queer voices.
I will say that what this question is getting at is interesting, which is that the book itself is certainly more queer. Even the relationship between Siggy and Steve, though not explicitly they're not together or anything, but it's such a different kind of male friendship.
Yeah.
So non-toxic. They're so I don't know, they just get along so well.
Yeah.
You can tell that a queer person wrote it because it's not just fraught with the toxicity or tropiness of kind of other male relationships or whatever. So it's interesting that the book definitely has come a long way there, but we still really don't dive into Diana that way. It's mostly assumed because she grew up on Themyscira, right?
Yeah.
But since that time, through various continuities, Steve Trevor, Superman, there's the Batman shippers, there's, Siegfried, we haven't really taken time to explore the other side of Diana's bisexuality, which is fine. Like that, she
Phil
doesn't have to
Jimenez
either.
done-
But
Doesn't Phil Jimenez done something recently?
well, Phil Jimenez was. Well, now here's the question: is Phil Jimenez?
Yeah, he's gay.
Well, then yeah, Phil Jimenez is like was like the Wonder Woman artist for years. Like bulk of his career is a lot of his career, I should say, rather is Wonder Woman related. That's a little further back. We're talking more like mid 2000s kind of thing. But
Phil Jimenez has a great quote where he says that comics are inherently gay.
I mean,
which
does he expand on that? Or is that...
yeah, you get it. No, he says that what he says. For Jimenez, comics have always championed queer outlooks and people who are traditionally seen as other, the geeks, the nerds, outcasts. The career, and he came out in the mid '90s.
Well, then, I mean, Phil Jimenez is like one of the big ones that, but that might even, interesting. I'd have to, this would be a good question for Jaffe, but it's like, when was the first time that they implied or outright said that Wonder Woman / the Amazons are queer?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wonder like when that happened.
Has, Tynion, whatever, has he done Wonder Woman?
Not so much, but I mean, I really like Tynion as a creator.
He would be great, I think, to do Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I mean, he's mostly on creator-owned stuff right now. He's not really doing stuff like this, but yeah, Tynion's great. I really liked his Detective Comics run and a lot of his Batman stuff. I mean, he worked on the backups during like Court of Owls and stuff like that.
Yeah. Has Orlando?
Orlando has... Orlando did do a Wonder Woman story, or possibly even a mini arc. Like, did a little bit on Wonder Woman. Oh, yes, yeah. Including Wonder Woman Annual number 4 or something that set up the 3 tribes of Amazons. That there was this, there was the Themyscirans, there was the Bana Migdal, and then there was this 3rd secret tribe of Amazons in the Amazon.
Yeah.
So that's Orlando, I'm pretty sure.
You know who?
I mean, there have been queer creators in and around Wonder Woman for quite some time, but again, Wonder Woman's specific queerness is not, I would argue, all that explored.
Yeah,
a lot of characters around, and maybe even the general vibe of the book is relatively queer, but Wonder Woman, weirdly, is probably the least explored part of that whole dynamic, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'd
love to see Zdarsky on.
Is Zdarsky queer?
Yeah.
I should have thought of this before I made this the theme of the episode. Is I just don't know who is or is not.
Yeah, Zdarsky is.
I should just assume everyone is until they come out as straight.
I mean, you remember when I was like, Zdarsky's so fucking hot when we were at.
I mean,
and had big queer energy.
True.
In like the most masculine.
No, that was Jimenez.
Well, yeah.
When we went to the Jimenez
and I was just
panel,
like, it's like both like so masculine and yet so fucking like.
Yeah, that's true.
Sexy and like feminine at the same time.
That's true.
It's fucking hot.
Well, yeah. Interesting.
Well,
that makes sense. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say it that way. It's not like only queer people can insert queerness into books, but Zdarsky, I think, is the one that wrote Batman the Knight, which is like a mostly in continuity, like early days of like Bruce training and like before he becomes the Batman sort of thing. And one of those issues has like a will they kiss kind of moment with Bruce and what's the character's name? Anton.
Yeah.
Where they kind of like lean in and then someone is like, am I interrupting? Like, it kind of does that sort of thing. And it's like, oh man, it's Bruce? Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah.
A person who mostly does like Marvel stuff, but I would love to see is Vita Ayala.
That's who I started this whole thing talking about. Vita Ayala has done Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Oh, has she?
Wrote Nubia and the Amazons.
Makes a ton of sense then. Yeah, absolutely.
There we go. We've come full circle. I think that does it.
Yeah. We've solved queer creators.
Well, no, I just meant like we answered the question. Jesus.
All right, next question. Coming from our favorite religious representative,
Ooh, Chris Chan.
who asks, were there any creators from pre-modern era that we did not know were queer until now? I mean, if he doesn't even know who's currently, no way he's going to know who's before.
Yeah.
Could you have read into their work that they are queer in hindsight?
I'm going to say, in the broad sense, undoubtedly.
I mean, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gaiman?
Is Gaiman queer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. I mean, here, like, let's use a slightly more contemporary example because I know the question's about like early, like golden age, silver age, stuff like that. But let's use a slightly more modern example. Morrison, who only kind of came out as non-binary,
like the 90s.
In the last like 5 years,
really, wow,
something like that. But look at the history of Morrison's work.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like identity is sort of wrapped up in the idea of like what is existence too. I think Morrison introduced a bunch of queerness in the Doom Patrol. We were just talking about that last week, right? Obviously, Rachel Pollack picked up on that, kept it going, went even further with it. But that, Morrison is the one that did that. The Doom Patrol before that was a bunch of straight science fiction characters.
Yeah.
So there's when you go back, you go again. You don't want to go. Only a queer person could have thought to be this open-minded, but. Only a queer person.
Sure,
yes. You kind of hate to do that, but it's sort of like, well, Now, as for the old times, I'm willing to bet someone was. But the other question is, like, did anyone feel comfortable enough or safe enough to come out? How many? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I truly don't know. You kind of lost track of this question and didn't put enough time into looking it up, admittedly. But I would be shocked to learn that none of the creators from that era.
I would be curious if there's any like Silver Agey, like Golden Agey books that were like coded like queer that like maybe we didn't know or that have been now like taken.
I wouldn't call it queer. But the thing we always come back to is that, like, the original Wonder Woman book was very
sort of
sexually progressive. It was also playing with gender dynamics by having Steve be the, what did they call him? He wasn't a damsel in distress. He was something like a prince in peril or something like they had like a different designation for it. But like he was the one that always needed saving and Wonder Woman would come in and save him. And then there was this other thing where Wonder Woman had these kind of strong, she was physically strong and determined and she was, had all of that kind of character, but she also there was this like loving submission thing. It was about like challenging the perceptions of like, what is it to be, a woman, so we're probably skirting the line of like talking about actual queerness, but that original Wonder Woman was dealing in some different like ideas and different things that were kind of like pushing some like gender identity and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
There's the let's see,
Sandman, I guess, has,
but that's late. Like, I mean, I would still call that modern era. We're into like the 80s and 90s there, So yes, I mean, you're absolutely right. The Endless they're all kind of just like these formless masses, right?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's probably like a lot of the queer coding happened for like with like sidekick relationships and stuff like that with like Batman and Robin, things like that.
I don't know about that though. I'm not sure how much that's actually queer coded. Like there's,
or at least like taken, like I think the community maybe like heralded them for that. Like
I know that's come up. I've read some of that stuff too, but that feels like weird, dangerous territory to me. Like I've read some of these things too that are like Robin is queer coded. He's so obviously queer coded. and people saw positives in that, and it helped them, and that's great, and I love that. But
I guess we're not the ones to say that.
but also, but the dynamic with Bruce to me makes that deeply problematic.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that. There's a thing I kind of just don't like. If people looked at the Robin costume and they just even the design of it, and they go, "That's queer coded. That helped me. That's great. I love that.
Sure, yeah.
I'd never want to take that from you." But like, if you start getting into like the dynamic between Batman and Robin, that starts feeling real weird to me because they're supposed to have a parental
Sure.
kind of like, and I don't want to like wade in there. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Don't forget Hemogoblin.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, listen, there's so many bad fate. I mean, we've talked. Not too long ago, but all the kind of bad faith like attempts at like racial discourse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is, I think even for people trying to attempt that, this was like another step. Not that it should be like, and this on top of it, but I think that's just kind of how it was.
When did Extrano show up?
Extraño is like a
Extraño.
80s, 90s one because that's New Guardians.
Yeah.
That's the shit you made me read last year.
Yeah.
But Extraño's in that.
Because he's one of the first.
Because he's in New Guardians and he's part of the Justice League Queer, which just kind of like debuted, I think, last year.
He's
or 2 years
basically like
ago
the first DC character that like is openly gay.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would be shocked to. I mean, character-wise, I'd be shocked to see any openly gay characters before the 80s.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
Or in any meaningful way, at least. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have much of a better answer for that. Like, I don't.
Well, and the Comics
For
Code
example,
Authority,
for example, like I don't know if like Ramona Frayden, like legendary
Yeah.
artist, is queer or something. Like just to throw a name out
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if Gardner Fox was queer. Like some of these people may never have come out, or I should have put more time into that, but I don't actually know.
I know that.
But I will say that as some of these creators do come out, people like Morrison.
Yeah.
You look back on their work and you go like,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
You like so that the second part of that question, the idea of like, can you read into it is like, absolutely you can.
Yeah.
You know,
You might even be right.
you know. So
All right. Let's move on to next question from Zen Barely Holding On, who asks,
okay,
what characters do you think these creators should have a chance to write about?
oh,
Was there an example
I
that you
mean-
used in the question, or
I mean,
are they
let's
talking about broadly?
let's set aside let's set aside the obvious. They can write any character they want.
Sure, yeah.
They don't have to be queer.
Yeah.
However, might be interesting to give Bunker another shot. Bunker was a new creation in the New 52, part of the Teen Titans, who could make like sort of psionic bricks. Bunker was Latin American and gay. Haven't really seen Bunker in years, or maybe just in cameo appearances or whatever, but it might be kind of neat to give Bunker another shot.
Yep.
See someone do something like proper utilizing Bunker. Well, we're getting Galaxy the Prettiest Star, which came out last year, which is this amazing graphic novel that is set in DC continuity, but doesn't involve anyone else. But it's about a trans character, Galaxy, which is amazing.
Oh, wow.
Like an alien from another place who has the power of basically like sensing and manipulating energies.
That's cool.
But it's a great story by Jadzia Axelrod, and she is now going to write Hawk Girl, and Galaxy is going to be a supporting character in that book.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we're going to get more Galaxy. So Jadzia Axelrod's, that's her creation. So of course it's being run in there. That's amazing. You know, it's nice to see Nicole Maines, who played Dreamer on Supergirl, bringing Dreamer to like main continuity and working with like Tom Taylor and writing stories of her own and stuff like that. That's awesome. I love that. It would be cool to get like the pitch of that Justice League Queer with Extraño at the head, that there's like even if it's not like a formal team, but this
Sure.
idea of that there is a community of queer superheroes that can kind of come together and depend on each other and stuff like that. To have Extraño as this kind of like
shepherd. Yeah.
well, and elder statesman of that,
Yeah.
especially with the context of like how many people of Extraño's generation didn't make it. You mentioned the Hemogoblin. That's in that New Guardians book.
Yeah.
That's when he came in, and like how many of those kind of elders of that community do we just not have because of the ravages of HIV,
I think it's
the inaction of government and stuff like that to do anything to help that community, right?
There's an opportunity, I think, right now with the coming out of so many characters to be able to have something like that.
Totally. I hesitate to invoke Sanctuary, but like the
Sure.
idea of like actually demonstrate that community exists, have Extraño as a leader in there. I think like as far as a character, I would like to see queer creators, right? Let's give Extraño that.
Yeah.
Give him that kind of position of like, I mean, God, I was going to say like Alan Scott is for Heroes, but Alan Scott also recently come out of this game as well. So Alan Scott should also be in there, but Extraño can still be a leader for even Alan Scott to be like, this is how you live openly. This is how you embrace all parts of yourself. So maybe more than any other character, that's one that I'd want to see. It's not that I'm necessarily that obsessed with his powers, but there's a real potential for some interesting storytelling and some real positive kind of vibes using that character.
I love that. That's awesome. All right, let's leave Twitter and head on over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
First and only question from Instagram comes from the Geek, who asks, I wasn't a fan of Final Crisis, but I enjoyed Superman and The Authority. If I want to read good Morrison, where do I go?
Okay.
Woof.
I mean, listen.
What a question. Listen to our Morrison episode.
If you don't like Final Crisis, I mean, Multiversity is less wild, I'd say, than Final Crisis.
Which is
but
crazy to say.
You might not like Multiversity.
Yeah.
You might not like the big, scopy stuff.
His new Green Lantern stuff, though slightly big in scope, is actually like a pretty small story. Like
it is, but it's a little esoteric.
Sure.
So if
you don't like that, don't listen. Don't read Morrison.
It depends a little. It depends a little bit on what you didn't like about Final Crisis.
Yeah.
If you didn't love some of that, the Green Lantern might be a little tricky.
Yeah.
All-Star Superman
you can't
is
go
such
wrong.
an easy,
can't
easy
go
answer.
wrong.
It's like vintage Silver Age Superman. It's heartwarming. It's beautifully drawn. Frank Whiteley.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great book. That's a slam dunk, home run. Do it. I'd give Doom Patrol
Oh yeah,
a go.
Absolutely.
I think Doom Patrol has some of those like bigger ideas or pushing the form or like doing some new stuff, but it's maybe a little more reined in than even the Green Lantern is. I think it's maybe a little easier to keep up with. And Animal Man. Classic,
of course,
Morrison. That's like amazing stories. That's where I would start, given what you've told me there. But if you like Superman and the Authority, the other one I'll throw in there is the early runs of New 52 Action Comics when Morrison was writing. They were writing Action Comics, and some great stories and like relatively, succinct mainline, but there's a little bit of multiverse weirdness in there, but for the most part, if you like Superman and the Authority, you might just dig that Action Comics run.
Totally.
You might dig the Batman and Son, like that kind of stuff, like the kind of more down the line Morrison. Might be into that.
I love that. All right, let's leave Instagram and head on over to Reddit,
where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
That's right. First question comes from Dasbl23 or DASBL23.
Okay.
Nope, wasn't pronouncing it weird, just is weird.
Sure, yeah.
Who asks, who is your favorite queer creator? And did they create any queer characters?
I mean, we talked about Morrison a lot. Morrison is way up there for me.
Yeah, how could he not be? Or they not be?
way up there. Rachel Pollack, who I talked about a lot last week,
Yep.
was a trans creator, and created the first trans character in DC, Coagula.
Yep.
So I'm very into that. I think Morrison created Rebus. Just speaking of creating queer characters, Rebus again is that Negative Man and Eleanor Poole and the Negative Spirit all in one intersex body. I really like Steve Orlando. Orlando comes up in some of the questions here today, but I really love Steve Orlando. I think such a great grasp of the balance between I find Orlando is great at like getting to the emotional heart of a thing and also giving you all of the boom pow crash that you kind of want when you just pick up a comic. You just want a comic experience, right?
Totally.
And whether that's Martian Manhunter or Justice League of America or Apollo at Midnighter or insert whatever. Wonder Woman. Yeah, or I think Orlando's great that way.
Wheeler.
Sorry?
Wheeler. Andrew Wheeler.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now, who is Wheeler created?
I was trying to think of that because I know he worked on the 2021 Pride.
Yeah.
The first issue.
Well, there's only one. It's just like an anthology.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Wheeler. I got to imagine there's been like multiple queer creators who have worked on like Harley or Poison Ivy over time. We mentioned James Tynion before. I really like James Tynion's work. I think in particular the one that stands out for me is I like the Rebirth Detective Comics run. Pretty sure that's Tynion. That's where there's like they make a team that includes Batwoman.
Yeah.
That has an amazing Clayface redemption like story all the way through it. Or Clayface is on the team. That's a really cool era.
He also works on the Justice League Dark.
Justice League Dark.
The Last Age of Magic. Yeah.
Justice League Dark is great Tynion stuff. That's a really, really solid run. Yeah, I mean, we in terms of creators creating specific queer characters, Jadzia Axelrod with Galaxy, obviously. Nicole Maines is interesting because she portrayed Dreamer, which obviously, that's also tied to her experience, but that's on TV first. So there's also like the TV writers and stuff involved there too. But then Nicole Maines has taken such ownership of that character, and to bring them into the main continuity is awesome. Yeah, God. I mean, I'm obviously falling short here, but if I had to make a top list of like favorite queer creators or a Mount Rushmore, it's like Morrison, Pollack, Orlando, Tynion, maybe.
Yeah,
that seems a little crazy, maybe, but those are the first four. Those are the first four that come to mind. Yeah, I mean, here's the other piece too. Is like. Gaiman is coming as queer, and there's a lot of queer stuff in Sandman in that. But just in my head, that doesn't like come to me first.
Sure,
you know what I mean? Like
that's fair.
Maybe just because in Sandman it just all feels so. It just feels like intuitive. Not that the other creators aren't doing that. I don't mean to make it sound like you always hear that argument online. It's like, oh, they're forcing it or whatever.
Sure, I know.
That's not what I mean. But something in Sandman, you just go like, we're talking about fucking like dreams and the endless and that. You're like, what is identity? You know what I mean? You kind of have these bigger questions anyway that I sort of don't even really think about it. But yeah, I mean, it's in there. Of course, it's in there.
All right, let's leave Reddit and head over to the Doc Scored.
Shit, fuck.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I docs with my scored.
Wow.
On my docs scored like doc scored weeps.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gonna burn rice. That's the energy in which you're coming with those.
That's fair. That's true.
First question from the Doc Square comes from Witch Devil Sorcerer, who asks, what's your favorite queer fan fiction in the DC universe? If you don't have one from your literotica days, yeah, fuck yeah. Please provide your favorite queer ship. I mean, it's Midnighter and Apollo.
Okay, but is the question more like the one that isn't also with like
your slash fiction?
Isn't the point of like the ships that like maybe it's not the one that's happening?
Sure, but then we're talking like slash fiction.
I mean, I'll throw it out. I really like the Midnighter Nightwing.
Sure,
I love the Midnighter Nightwing tension.
Talking about that ass, yeah.
I'm into it. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I think Nightwing should have gone for it.
Yeah.
I
mean, any male character in Nightwing, it's hard to not want that, but.
That's fair. I was kind of into that. Though. I liked their thing.
Sure.
I was kind of a mid.
What about like Green Arrow, Green Lantern?
I don't know that I ever felt that way with them.
Okay.
But let's try to think. Have I felt that way with either of them and anyone else?
Yeah.
And that's interesting. I mean, I don't feel this way, but if it's going to be Hal and anyone, I'd say Barry.
Oh, okay.
But I don't like. I've never like I've read it and be like, these two definitely gotta fuck. Yeah. Like I've never been like that. But if it would be anyone, I'd probably say that. Let's see. Favorite queer ship. I got to imagine that some sort of fanfic online launched a like, what if Hawkgirl and Vixen just get together and leave Green Lantern out, like from the cartoon?
Oh yeah, this is one of those moments, isn't it, where you and I are like, oh yeah, female characters.
Yeah, well, I had that in my head. I was like, oops.
Oh yeah, you can choose girls.
Gulp.
Yeah, that's more of us just not trying to be creeps.
I guess.
So like it's
but
less
also,
creepy with guys, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know that we're not being creeps. We're just only being creeps.
And that's fine.
It's good. But yeah, maybe like there's got to be like a Hawkgirl Vixen one out there for people that were watching the cartoon. Oh man, that's tough. Queer ships. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have any?
I mean, this was the thing that we talked about last week, which was like...
Here's the one that I'll throw out there.
Yeah.
That I mean, I guess I'm undoing my own rules because it was like... Well, I didn't finish watching the show, but from what I gather, it was pretty explicit. But it's like the Riddler and Penguin on Gotham.
Oh!
I think were like a thing. And if they weren't, it was like the strongest ship of all time.
Sure, yeah, fair.
That was I've seen a little bit from the later seasons, and that was the vibe I got. I don't know if they actually explicitly did that or not, but they had like a kind of a thing.
I wonder if those actors are queer.
No, I'm not sure.
But yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's hard to think otherwise. Like,
yeah, queer ships.
Kite Man and
Kite Man, hell yeah. I know we've seen Bane like just mostly betting women, I think.
Yeah.
In Secret Six and stuff like that.
But maybe he had some secret
but
sex.
I don't think there's any Jesus Christ. I don't think there's anything about Bane that I think is like not queer.
Fair. Yeah.
Like, he's got that kind of big bear thing, all the hair and stuff. Like, I don't know.
I could
I don't know who the other part of that is. Maybe I'm just pitching Bane and Catman.
Sure.
They're both on the Secret Six.
Catman do.
I mean, Catman, I think, is a queer character.
Okay.
Just like already. Yeah. Maybe I'm pitching Bane and Catman.
I like that.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah. All right. Let's go to the next question.
I'd like to pursue this.
Yeah.
I think there's a real spark between us, brother.
Granda says you're 200 feet away. All right. Next question comes from... Do you have another one?
No, I'm okay.
Lilith, who asks, What do you consider to be the magnum opus of various queer creators? You can choose who you discuss. For me, very little can beat Morrison's The Invisibles. Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about The Invisibles, but
Yeah. Well, yeah.
can't. And Orlando's Martian Manhunter is a fantastic take on the character.
Yeah, God. It's hard to beat the Martian Manhunter one for Orlando, but I've got a real soft spot for that Justice League of America series. I mean, it doesn't truly hold a candle to that Martian Manhunter one, but that Justice League of America does so much of that kind of like the late 80s. It has such like a weird Justice League vibe. Like we brought back the Extremists, like Lord Havoc and the Extremists. We had the Microverse. That team is like Black Canary and the Atom and Lobo, Vixen and the Ray. The Ray, great queer character.
Yeah. Oh, you know what was a really fun book was the Bombshells book by
Is that Marguerite Bennett?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean the Bombshells book is like all queer energy.
Yeah. And Marguerite is queer.
I mean, totally. But the book has this like takes that like the pinup
World War II,
like World War II kind of thing, but then also like applied it to like the dudes. It has a very like female gaze on the dudes and stuff like that, which is not explicitly queer, but like, yeah, I mean that book's great.
It's a great book by I think, and they're probably
and just
artists.
Great designs. I love the look of all the Bombshell costumes and stuff like that. Yeah. That's a great one
too.
I
think it's probably like Bennett's probably best
for Tynan. That's tough. It might be Justice League Dark, but I truly think that Detective Comics run is amazing. Mm-hmm. And it was double shipped too, so like there were 2 issues a month for a couple of years, like wild pace of storytelling.
What about Gerard Way's Doom Patrol?
Yeah. I mean, God, we talked about it last week a little bit, but Casey Brink and Nada are, I mean, they're both kind of female presenting, but they're both essentially nothing. Like they both don't exist. You know, they've got their relationships there. Yeah, that's a good one.
But Grant Morrison's obviously Doom Patrol is incredible.
But magnum opus for Morrison, like I don't even know what I would call Morrison's greatest achievement. I feel like I have to say All-Star because it's just so perfect and contained. But there's another part of me that's like, it's the multiversity.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a wild take in its own way, but like I fucking love that. And each book, the way that it takes like a new kind of genre on each of these worlds. Just that Pax Americana one, the way that he's like, he does to Watchmen what Watchmen did to the original Earth 4. Mm-hmm. Like even just like narratively, how you pull that off. The ring cycle shit of the Earth 10 book of Mastermen is like, I can't say enough about multiversity.
Did you ever read the Lady Bast book, the like Vertigo, like Sandman?
No, I haven't.
That's supposed to be really good, and that's Caitlin Kiernan.
I haven't read that one. Let's see though. Magnum Opie. I mean, for some creators, I just need to see them do more. I hope that Hawk Girl is even better than Galaxy. I mean, that's gonna be hard to beat because Galaxy is like such a contained story, but still. Yeah. Rachel Pollack didn't actually do that much in comics. So it's obviously Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
So a lot of her stuff was like poetry, novels, other stuff.
Yeah.
Is N.K. Jemisin the novelist? Are they queer? Because Far Sector's great. Joe Mullane, I feel, is an awesome character. Yeah, I mean, again, it's tricky because I just don't know who all of the queer creators are.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they are.
For those ones that you brought up, though, for Morrison, I'm going to say multiversity.
Yeah.
even though I feel like the answer I'm supposed to say is All-Star. And for Orlando, I'd really go to bat for Justice League of America, but Martian Manhunter is incredible.
Sure, yeah. Next question.
Orlando's Wonder Woman is really good too.
Yeah.
And it kind of got like cut short.
Oh,
but the
really?
Orlando Wonder Woman is, that's up there too. It's tough.
All right. Next question from Tone DX2049, who asks, in the episode with Steve Orlando, Richard brought up Martian Manhunter and Danny the Street getting together.
You brought that up back then?
Apparently. In the previous issue, he did the same. So, producer, what is your pitch for this series, issues, creators, pitch, etc.?
Let's have it. Let's bring this ship to life.
So I think what I would do instead is a bit of like rewriting canon.
Okay.
Martian Manhunter like lands on Danny instead.
Oh, like that's part of his origin?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And maybe make that more about them sort of being in a place of like not knowing what they want, what they are, and they sort of like Danny's learning like what it is to be part of like Earth, and Martian Manhunter's learning about what it is to be like a part of that community. Like they're both sort of learning together.
Sure.
And so through that, finding their like whatever like version of humanity both of them can get.
That's interesting. There's a thing I didn't think about last week when you brought this up.
Yeah.
That I'm thinking about now, which is that in DC 1 million, Martian Manhunter like fuses with Mars.
Oh.
He like becomes Mars.
Oh, well, there you go.
So Martian Manhunter has a sort of like canonical like that's the 1 million version of him. It's the 853rd century. But like Martian Manhunter has like a genius loci kind of.
Well, there you go. Yeah, like them
sort of
blending together. Like that would be.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you've already blown my mind with the idea of it.
And apparently an idea I've had twice.
Yeah, I mean, which means that
it's a good idea.
It's important to you.
Yeah. Apparently it means something.
So who would you have bring this to life then?
Ooh, I mean, partly I think because it came on Orlando, I want it with Orlando.
Right.
It feels like it was meant to be now.
Okay.
So maybe Orlando and... Ooh, that's a good question. It depends. Orlando is mostly an artist, right?
No, writer.
Mostly a writer. Okay, who's a queer artist that we could pull in?
I mean, we talked about Phil Jimenez.
Oh yeah,
I think
Jimenez.
Marguerite Bennett not also an artist?
Yeah, I'm not great with that. Yeah, let's Jimenez then. Yeah, those two. Let's fucking do it.
I'm trying not to be problematic on here, but is Mariko Tamaki
yes
queer?
Yes,
because I fucking love Mariko Tamaki.
Yeah.
And if we're going back to the magnum opus thing, that fucking the Tower story from Detective Comics, they peaked.
Yeah,
I fucking love that. It's incredible. Just a wildly good book. I mean, listen, I like some of the other stuff. I liked the I Am Not Starfire. I liked some of that stuff, but like The Tower is such a masterpiece, and I feel like people really slept on that. And you got to read that like mega arc from Detective Comics from like last year and a little bit into the year before or whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry. Realizing that like I would amend my Mount Rushmore to throw Mariko Tamaki out there because I'm very in. Yeah.
All right. Last question.
Okay.
From Big Bear.
Okay.
Who asks, do you think there's a queer creator brave enough to make a comic or a one-shot where they make Bruce bisexual? And if there was, who do you think they'd pair him with?
I think there's a false premise in this question.
That like it hasn't already been done?
A, that it hasn't already happened. We'll go back and revisit that in a sec. But B, that it's the queer creators that would need the courage to do it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm pretty sure that Batman the Knight, number 5, where Bruce has that like, and then doesn't moment, I'm pretty sure that's Zdarsky.
Oh, interesting.
It's just like a full on like, yeah, young Bruce was, he was finding himself. He was figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's in there. It's part of it. I like that the way I like the idea, I guess, maybe more than the execution of the James Bond thing.
Sure.
My problem with the James Bond thing is that we haven't really set up that he's ever had a meaningful male relationship that he felt the same way as he does with women. So then when the villain kind of does that like feel up thing and Bond goes like, go for it, it's kind of is more like a, I don't know, it just feels like I don't give a shit. You can touch me if you want. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, Bond's bisexual. Like it's different.
Yeah.
But that Bruce moment in Batman the Knight is awesome. But that's Chip Zdarsky, so already like a queer creator, right? So I don't think they're the ones you need to. I think if you hand the reins of Batman over to someone for long enough, it's gonna come up.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. Because most of us are at least a little bit queer, I don't mean like in a way, even in a way of like acting on it or anything, but isn't that the whole point of the
spectrum
of that Kinsey scale thing? Is like no one is all the way straight.
Yeah,
there's always some.
Yeah,
and it doesn't mean
maybe some of us play it up more than others.
No one's playing anything up. I'm just telling you, my big obstacle is Dick.
Sure,
that's my big obstacle.
Sure, Grayson.
Yeah.
He's not real, and so why even do it?
Yeah. Why bother?
Did you see that thing the Diplo said the other day?
No.
It was like,
can't wait to hear what Diplo said.
It was like, it's not gay to get your dick sucked by a guy. And I was like, 1, it is, but 2, who cares? Like,
yeah, I mean, A, yeah, it doesn't matter, but B, it
it is like
it's definitely like that's cool and fine.
Yeah,
it definitely
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
it's not.
It's not straight. Like, I thought that was so funny.
But this is what I mean. The fucking hoops.
Yeah.
People jump through. It's like just
let it be what it is.
Just be cool with it, man. It's fine.
You fucking make dance music. Fucking like go with the flow.
Yeah, like what is Diplo?
Yeah, I know. So funny.
But yeah, I mean, so there is this kind of example of Bruce. Yeah. I'm sure there's other. I mean, God, you look at those covers of like Bruce and Ra's al Ghul in the 70s, like fighting shirtless, but he still has the cowl on. You're telling me that guy isn't bisexual?
I know.
If you are having a shirtless sword fight,
you might be a bisexual.
You might be a bisexual, Batman.
If you and your friend watch a tentacle monster have sex with itself,
you might be a bisexual, Batman.
That's a good one.
But yeah, I mean, sorry. Oh, the last part of this question. If there was, who do you think they'd pair him with? So let's leave the like young Bruce pre-Batman thing that is out there. Let's leave that alone. Mm-hmm. Who do you think they'd pair him with?
Ooh, interesting. All right, so we're just like throwing out.
I mean, Ghostmaker, a character that Tynan created, I believe, is definitely queer. I don't know if strictly bisexual or what, but it's definitely queer. The idea that Bruce and Ghostmaker never, like, they must have. But if we're trying to come up with like a new relationship for Batman, or not even, I might be overselling it, but just a new experience for Batman.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a relationship. God, why do you stop putting labels?
Podcasters,
whatever.
If you put labels on every relationship you enter into, you might be insecure.
If I don't label it, then how do I know it's for real? Was that thunder? Well, I think that, I mean, yeah, where does my instinct go? I mean, if we're saying characters that are like already like out,
right?
It's like, I mean, it's like the easy one's like Apollo or something. Or
Yeah, see, I wonder if Bruce is... I don't think he's...
what's Bruce's type?
I mean, his type is Selena.
Yeah. So what's the male
So
Selena?
you got to find male Selena, which I guess is Midnighter, but that's like too close to him.
I mean,
that feels off.
I mean, what's wrong with that?
Male Selena. Yeah. Well, no. We're getting into Loki territory there. I was
Like
going to say,
himself? Yeah.
well, there's like Bryce Wayne on Earth 11.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Or on Earth 11, you have Sylvester Kyle.
Oh.
So maybe you just do a multiverse romance just to ease him back in.
Does Bruce have an ego? Like, would he want to fuck himself? Like,
I don't think that's a Bruce thing.
you look like my dad. Oh no.
Oh no.
All right. That was the last question.
Maybe Harvey before he was Two-Face.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Give him a new half of it.
Easy. Let's just say before he had acid thrown in his face. Jesus Christ.
Talk about a ghost maker.
Good Lord.
We would love to hear from your residents, including
Yes.
sending in questions for next week's episode.
Or do the research I should have done for this episode, but like clearly got away from me.
Yeah.
Specifically, Chris Chan's question, like Golden Age, Silver Age creators, are there any that
Let us know.
came out later in life
Yeah,
or even
yeah.
at the time? What happened?
Jaffe?
Yeah, Jaffe, this might be a you question.
What do we know what next week's?
I don't, but you'll see when I post it.
It's gonna be May.
May?
When you don't commit,
I did commit.
no, you were like May.
That was committing. You're
That
fine.
That feels like you're worried.
If you have to scrutinize every move that your partner makes, you might be insecure about it.
You could send those questions once they get called out on our social media platforms like our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast,
our Twitter,
at Dr. DC,
our Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast,
email,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com,
our subreddit.
r/Dr_DC.
Remember when I used to really fuck around and go all over and really mess you up? That was fun.
I mean, for you.
Doc phone is always open.
208-917-3238.
28917-DCEU if you're nasty.
If you're nasty.
You
Commit to it. Yeah, see? That's how it feels.
I said it first. You said it after. You weren't even in time.
I said it better. So,
Yeah, I guess better late than never.
yeah. Yes. That's my point.
We're on TikTok.
At Dr. DC. Great energy.
Well, our website.
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
There's a 5-star review and we will read it on a future episode. Maybe if the doctor eventually collects them and starts putting them into the notes.
I have been.
He didn't.
Did we get another one?
We have them and we haven't been using them.
No. We've used all the ones we have.
If you
If you're talking about that one that was in the email, we did it last week.
did we though?
But I had to say it because you didn't
Oh yeah, that's
do the
why.
thing.
Because you didn't because you put in the notes late.
I put the notes in it in fine time.
Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, for more of this.
But worse.
What did I say last week? We're going to talk about queer stories in DC, and we're going to fight a lot. So patreon.com/DrDC. There's a $1, $5, $7 level. They all give you access to the Doc Squad, our awesome Discord fan community. At the $5 level, you get the Double Dose, our weekly bonus episode. And currently at the Golden Age level, you're getting new episodes weekly of Toretto Talks. Me and my sister going through every Fast and Furious movie in the lead up to Fast X.
Hell yeah.
This week is going to be F9.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Fucking F
It's
you.
it's happening.
They should make a driving school called FU.
Cool. Yeah, that's good, man.
Hell yeah.
That's really
worth it.
That's really fucking good.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
You should You should be a writer.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, there's some jobs available right now.
I mean, so you're going to be a scab?
Yeah.
You're going to cross
Hell
the picket
yeah.
line?
Hey, why not?
Apparently, a lot of Canadian writers did last time. Yeah. It's like, not Gucci, Canada.
I know it's hard to get jobs up here. I get it.
Well, no, it's hard to get jobs for Canadians down there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But no bueno. Don't be a scab. Don't cross that picket line.
Unless
I saw
it's
some
like-
great stuff about other productions shutting down because now the Teamsters won't cross the picket
Yeah.
lines. So now production crews are out. That's solidarity.
Yeah. Unless the money's like really good.
Jesus. Classic fucking Richard.
Ghostfacers, another podcast we have.
Yeah, we go through every single episode of the CW Supernatural. We talk real world monster lore, behind the scenes stuff about the show. It's Gucci, baby.
It is season 7.
Yeah.
Halfway there.
Whoa.
We're
Living on a prayer.
Take my hand.
No, Dean, that's weird. Whoa.
Adios.
Oh, no, I say that. I almost said chow chow. That's,
I know. I want to see if I can get you to do it.
Ka-chow, ka-chow.
Oh, nice. Ciao, ciao.
All the superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.